Have you ever been told that by saving money, you might be killing the economy? Because that is exactly what many opinion makers are claiming to this day.
Basic problem we have now is that the economy is depressed because people don't want to spend. Virtue becomes vice, in which everybody trying to save, everybody trying to pay down debt, actually ends up being self-defeating.
This idea is called the paradox of saving. It was introduced by the famous British economist John Maynard Keynes in his 1936 book The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money. It basically says that if people suddenly start saving much more and spend less nationwide, this will impoverish the economy and the country will end up with less savings than it would have had the people not decided to save more in the first place. This happens due to the fact that your consumption is somebody else's income. For example, if the car sales go down as a result of increased saving, then the car dealers, car producers, and consequently all subcontractors will have lower income. Some of those companies will need to cut their workforce. If such thing happens to the economy as a whole, it will lead to higher unemployment. The unemployed people will suddenly be without a source of income and will not be able to save. On the contrary, they may need to live off their previous savings. Others may retain their job, but their wages will not grow as much, if at all. Through this process, the whole economy ends up worse off, and even the savings will end up lower than before, even though it was precisely more saving which started the chain reaction. So, should everybody live paycheck to paycheck and immediately spend everything they have in order to boost the economy? No, the story is more nuanced. You see, the concept has its value in severe economic crisis, but the problem is that many public figures are using it to denigrate saving as a whole, even during normal times. However, empirical studies are consistently showing a high positive correlation between savings rate and GDP growth. In other words, countries where people save more, on average, grow faster. So how could saving be bad? Well, it isn't. There are two factors going against the paradox. Let me lead you through the scenarios. Remember when I said that your expenditure is somebody else's income? Well, turns out that your saving is also somebody else's spending and your own future spending. Let's start with the latter, because it is quite obvious. If you save a bit of money every month, you don't spend as much as you could. But after a few years, you probably buy something big, such as a house or a car. So you end up spending it anyways, just in a lump sum, once upon a time. And if somebody dies with a lot of savings, their children will spend it. So your current savings are your or your children's future consumption. At the same time though, your saving is somebody else's consumption. If you put your money into a bank, it doesn't just lie there. The bank puts only a small fraction of the deposited money and puts it in its reserves. The majority of the money is given to individuals and firms in the form of mortgages and various loans. And due to a system called fractional reserve banking, the banks can actually multiply the money you deposit there. So, your $100 deposit can be easily transformed into $1,000 worth of loans. This point is worth stressing. Most companies run on debt. Imagine building a new factory and having to come up with all that cash up front. Not many companies would be able to do that. A functioning financial intermediation is the basis of any modern economy. In fact, this is one of the main reasons why you don't see blooming business in the poorest countries, where a large part of the population spends the entire income just to meet their basic needs. Thus, they cannot accumulate any meaningful sum of money. As a result, the potential entrepreneurs cannot raise enough capital to start with, unless they receive foreign aid. It makes sense, right? No saving equals no investment. Just to be clear, this point holds even if you invest your money in financial instruments instead of putting it in a bank. Buying corporate bonds is just a more direct way to support the company. Government bonds will be transformed into public spending, and even if you buy stocks, you provide the seller with cash, which they either spend or save. So only if you keep cash under your mattress can we say that the money does not enter into circulation. The key here is that under normal circumstances, different parts of the population are in different positions on the spending-saving spectrum. Some people are currently living paycheck to paycheck, spending just what they can afford, without going to debt, but unable to save on the side. Other people are saving a significant part of their income. At the same time, however, there are those who just got a mortgage and are spending above what they could afford without going to debt. So even though the spending habits of individuals are changing significantly across time, on a national level these changes tend to cancel out, and the saving rate tends to be quite stable.
Pretty, isn't it? Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Recession enters the scene. Profits plummet, unemployment rises, everybody is afraid, everybody decides to save money for the bad times. This is the only scenario in which the paradox holds true. Consumption sharply decreases, and the money you put into a bank are not even turned into investments because both people and companies are afraid to take out loans in these uncertain times. Keynesians use this argument to promote huge government spending as the only way out of that quagmire. But this is a topic for another video. But as you can see, the extreme savings are a consequence of the crisis, not its cause. Just the opposite is true. Extremely exuberant consumption in good times creates bubbles, which sooner or later burst and create, or at least add to the creation of an economic crisis. To make matters worse, overly indebted population is more vulnerable. When the income stream goes dry, evictions, lawsuits, and similar delights follow. So, when making financial decisions, do not get fooled by the profits of unbridled consumption. Save money, invest, and most importantly, invest in yourself.